Morning show, ladies and gentlemen. The NFL season is over, and we got a lot to talk about today. Firings in the NFL, obviously some other sports news. Joy Taylor is going viral right now for a new lawsuit involving Fox Sports. There's a lot of craziness going on. We're going to get down into our playoff bracket predictions as well. So make sure you guys hit that like, that thumbs up, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss the stream. Shout out to all you guys. Good morning. Good morning. First thing we're going to start off with is the MVP race, right? Right now, we know that obviously Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are neck and neck. And a lot of people have been saying, well, Lamar Jackson has the stats and, he should be the front runner. And so the other side of the argument is, well, it's not stat-based, because if that was the case, he wouldn't have won the MVP last year. So we're going to break down the stats, and then obviously I'm going to give my thoughts as far as why I think Josh Allen is the front runner instead of Lamar. But let's get into it real quick. As far as the stats go, obviously, as far as, you want to count fantasy points for my fantasy people out there, Allen is QB2, Lamar is QB1. As far as your passing completions, 307 for Allen, 316 for Lamar, 483 attempts versus 474 for Jackson. The percentage, 63.6% versus 66.7% for Jackson. 3,731 yards for Allen versus the 4,172 for Jackson. As far as your attempts go, 7.7 per yard, 8.8 for Jackson, 28 passing touchdowns for Allen, 41 for Jackson, 6 interceptions for Allen, 4 for Jackson. 14 sacks versus 23. That's something that we can definitely touch on later. But then we get to the rushing side of things. 102 attempts versus 139, 531 yards versus 915, 5.2 yards versus 6.6. Longest 30 for Allen. For Jackson is 48. 20-plus yard runs, 6 for Allen, 12 for Jackson, and then 12 touchdowns for Allen and 4 for Jackson. So, yeah, it's in black and white here. We don't have to debate the stats. We know that Lamar Jackson is having a hell of a year in this season. And so, once again, it goes to the question of, well, why should Josh Allen get it? And so we look at as far as the rosters and the depth chart that Lamar Jackson has. He's got some great individuals over there. He's got Bateman. He's got Flowers. He's got Derrick Henry now. He's got Mark Andrews. These guys have definitely been not only beneficial to this team, but they have great chemistry. They have a great design for that offense that Lamar Jackson is great with and that he's built on. Now, on the flip side, we have the argument for Josh Allen. Well, he lost Stephon Diggs. He lost Gabe Davis. He lost his center. A lot of things changed for Josh Allen coming into this year, and so that's why a lot of people and why we would think he's a front runner coming into the MVP. So it's not an argument as far as people don't think that Lamar Jackson is great and that he hasn't had a good year, because we know that he has. The MVP to me is based on what did you have when the season started, and then what was the expectation built on that? And the expectation for the Bills was that no one expected them to be in this kind of situation with what Josh Allen had. And so the big thing for me is I also seen the growth in Josh Allen this year. Joe Brady at the helm as far as figuring out the best plays and the best offensive scheme for this team. That's actually worked. Getting everybody involved, utilizing Cooper coming over, utilizing the rookie Keon Coleman, utilizing Khalil Shakir. Those individuals have played a pivotal part, but nobody expected it coming into this season. Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox was out, and then he comes back, and then he shows up in a major way as well. So there's a lot that goes into this Buffalo organization that people really kind of downplayed. And so it's hard to say, okay, let's just go ahead and give it to Lamar because he got the stats, when you have a man who was counted out coming into this season because of the squad that he has. And I think that's what plays into Josh Allen's favor. But let me go ahead and hop into this chat with you guys. Shout out to you, Puck. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Good morning, Purple. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Good to see you. Tactical, what up, man? Big T in the building. Shout out to you, Sassy. Coffee in hand. So yeah, as far as Josh Allen and the expectations, I don't think the league really thought that he would be able to do anything with this specific squad. Now, let alone having the challenges that defenses, right? Because that's something that we kind of really haven't needed to touch on because the offense has been so dominant and powerful. And some of these latter weeks, obviously, until the Rams game where it got kind of ridiculous. But I did say this, and I think this is where things really start to change. I said that the conversation for Allen would start to shift from him up for MVP to Lamar, specifically because of the Rams' loss. And Josh Allen put in a lot of work in that game. He really put the team on his shoulders. And so when you look at the opportunity that he had to go out and win, he put in the work. He did his job, and you would say the defense failed him. But the problem with that is how people are looking at it after that game as well. Your best wasn't enough. And I can see it from that point of view because it's like, hey, if you went out there and you put up this many touchdowns passing and this many touchdowns rushing, that should have been enough to get the job done. If you're going to will yourself to win, go out there and get the win. But the defense let him down, right? The defense let him down. And unfortunately, I think that loss is when the public started to sway more so to Lamar. Because Lamar started to have not really a down point, but he was kind of just coasting. And right around that time frame is when we started to see him shoot up because Derrick Henry started to slow down. People really weren't talking about Derrick Henry as much as we were in the first of the year. And so Lamar had the opportunity to start making his name more known in the stats and everything, and that's why we are where we are now. But back to the point is, I think that I think that Josh Allen will definitely be the front runner while Lamar is right behind him. It's not a landslide thing. They're definitely neck and neck, but I do give the slight edge to Josh Allen. So that's my take on the MVP. I'll talk about how you guys feel about it in the chat, and then we'll debate about it. We'll go back and forth. Let me know how you guys feel, because that's where I'm at. I think, like I said, I think the MVP goes to the point of, hey, this individual had to work with what nobody expected him to, and he was able to find success in that, opposed to having a pre-ready-made team that could go out there and do what they need to do that was expected of them. And I think that's the difference. So shout out to you, Darth. Good morning, man. This is like backers from last year, and all the arguments people used for Lamar last year, they aren't accepting for Josh this year. And so that's the conversation, right? That's the issue. That's the big problem. They want the argument that they had last year to now work in favor of Lamar. And it's kind of funny because if we swap it, well, then you had to give Josh Allen the award last year because he had all the stats. That's the reality of it. Shout out to you, Craig. It's good to see you this morning. Good to see you. Tactical says, as a Titans fan, we miss Derek, bro. Our hearts hurt over that. That was a huge loss for the Titans. Without a doubt, that was a huge loss for the Titans. But I do think at the same time, Derrick Henry was getting tired of what was going on. And it's almost like, do you blame him? Right? I want to have an opportunity of getting a ring. I want to, be able to display, my talents and be rewarded for it. And so I think for Derrick Henry, it was a time in his career where it's like, okay, I need to move on, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the name of the game, unfortunately. Darv says, we also sadly saw the baiting start as well. Dern K. Perk started some real crap when he started baiting over NBA MVP. Yeah, I seen that as well. That's kind of crazy. Not to start the conversation, but any news on Lutza? Yeah, so I explained yesterday. You may have not heard it, but yesterday I did speak with her. She's currently in a nursing home. She is well. She is doing okay. She's being taken care of. But I did let her know that we would get her those funds that you guys donated, and she seemed very happy about that. I'm making a post for it today in the community chat, so if you guys do want the information, it'll be there. And if you want to contact me directly, I'll send you over her information that she said that we could that I could send to you guys. So I just don't want to put it out there for the weird people. So if you want it, contact me. I'll send it to you, and then you, of course, can, do what you will with that information as far as helping her out. So there you go. Shout out to you guys. Holding it down for the family. Enough Does Gaming says, I'll be honest, nobody is close to Josh Allen. Look at the team around good quarterbacks and then around Josh Allen. That's always going to be the argument, right? We can go back and forth in regards to, stats, and we can go back and forth in regards to plays and, this, that, and the other. The bottom line is this. If you take Lamar Jackson and put him on the Bills, will you have the same kind of success that Josh Allen is having? And then what kind of success would Josh Allen have with the Ravens depth chart? That's the kind of question that you have. And I kind of think that's what makes us think about who should get the MVP this year. If you take Josh Allen and you give him Flowers, Bateman, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, all these individuals that can go out there and be great and make huge plays consistently, what are we really talking about then? It's a good question. Good question. I feel like Allen did it with all the new pieces. I agree. 100%. I definitely agree. And, it's for me, I look at it like this. Not just from the point of, okay, look at what he did with what he had, but the growth after losing people that he had the most chemistry with and coming back from that and facing all adversity and being successful. I think that is a story that goes overlooked, right? It kind of gets pushed to the side. It's like, well, yeah, Stephon Diggs is gone. It's like, no, like he had a desire and a dream to win a Super Bowl with these individuals, and they came right there. They were this close to doing it. And so then you remove those individuals that he had, you go back to even the Cole Beasley days, right? You go back to Cole Beasley, those individuals, having such an amazing relationship with those guys. And so, losing Jordan Poyer, losing all these individuals that played in such a significant chemistry for the Bills, that changes everything for the team. And so now, right, you got some injuries, you got problems there. You've got a defense that's really not working out for you. Well, I'm going to go put on the cape for this whole team, and I'm going to go out there and win. And so that's what has to be taken into consideration. So it's not anything wrong with Lamar. No one can say anything bad about Lamar right now. The man has done his job well above and beyond what could be expected. But there's just a different caliber of play involved when you can take individuals that you really know nothing about and you sit there and have to create a winning team out of it, and you do that on a significant level in this kind of season. So that's where I'm at with it. I think Josh Allen obviously is a front runner. So there we are. Shout out to Sassy, says everyone wants MVP for Josh. Well deserved, but Josh has said multiple times he's not focused on it. I would like to see him get the MVP, but a Super Bowl win will be better. I agree. Here's the real kicker, though. You guys may have heard me say this before. I think Josh Allen deserves the MVP, but I wouldn't be mad if he didn't get it. Because if he doesn't get it, I do think that's going to light a fire under him to really, really show the league why he is the best in his own lane. And so it could work two ways, right? Not getting the MVP could be a motivating factor. And then getting the MVP could be just, a notch under the belt that's going to lead him to saying, okay, I this is who I am. This is the team that I can take to win a Super Bowl. And so it goes both ways. If he gets it, I think it's a good thing. If he doesn't get it, I also think it's a good thing because it's going to lead to a better thing down the road. So there you go. Shout out to you, College Football Network. How you doing this morning? How you doing? Good morning, Daniel. Thanks a lot, man. Good stream. Yeah. I don't think Diggs was any great loss. I mean, it's hard to say that because I think the relationship that they had built and he was reliable for Allen up to some point, right? He was reliable. And it wasn't until, I think after that AFC championship that, Diggs started to really become toxic and the relationship between those two really started to change, right? The trajectory started to change. And so I think, Diggs was an asset at one point, but then that's the issues and the problems started to overweigh that. And that's the reality of it. Lamar fan saying he should be the MVP because of the stats, ignoring the fact that last year he had middling stats, but one off his record. Josh clears. Shout out to you, Ryan. Good to see you, bro. So yeah, I mean, that's, I think that's where we'll leave that for right now. We won't know anything until obviously but right before the Super Bowl. Who knows? We could be surprised. It could be Lamar. You never know. But I do think Allen's front runner at this point. So there you go. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for the love and support as we keep it going here. The morning show, ladies and gentlemen, as we keep it going here. Next story for you guys. We got some crazy stuff today too. We haven't even got to that yet. Shout out to you, Kolya. Good to see you. Coach firings for this season. There has been some weird stuff going on, a lot of wild decision making. But at the end of the day, some people needed to leave, some people didn't need to leave. So we get into the coach firings for 2024, coach changes and openings. Obviously, the 2024 NFL season is over, and 5 teams has fired their head coaches. The Jets made their first change, parting ways with Robert Saleh in early October. The Saints waited until after Week 9, following their 7th straight loss, to fire Dennis Allen. The Bears moved on from Matt Eberflus after losing to the Lions on Thanksgiving. And the Patriots, which this one is weird to me. We'll get into it in a second. But the Patriots fired Jared Mayo after their Week 18 win, the win over the Bills, and the Jaguars also made a move letting go of Doug Peterson after the Week 18 loss to the Colts. So let's start with Peterson, right? Peterson definitely had a great team. Defensively, you look at, Josh Allen Hines, you look at Trayvon Walker, those individuals were definitely good for that defense and should have been powerful. Then you also look at, the offense. Trevor Lawrence is an individual who I think just needed a little bit more development, right? He was, I think, forced into this position of having to lead this team with just his talent before he truly had any kind of real NFL development. And we've been talking about how that's been a bad thing, right? It's worse than it is good for several reasons. You don't have the time to really adjust to the game. You don't really have anyone teaching you or coaching you along that you can just sit and watch. So you're forced out onto the field, go out there and win. Get us a Super Bowl. And so you're supposed to learn this game at such a fast pace while being in it. Some people get it, some people don't. And so we've been seeing now that there's certain quarterbacks in the league who, we thought they were terrible, but because they were able to get a little bit more time in the league down the road, they ended up on some team where they could be utilized. And so we look at, what Doug Peterson had, and it's like, okay, well, you haven't been able to get this team going. We know there's talent there, and, the Jags really haven't been performing the way that they need to. So I guess it does make sense to get rid of Doug, but the question is, who comes in after him? That's always going to be the question. Well, fine, you got rid of Doug, so we're assuming that you have some kind of plan moving forward. So we'll have to see, obviously, who ends up in Jacksonville to get that team going. You don't want to have the same kind of situation, so we're hoping that you pick the right person, because guess what? There's not a lot of people out there to get the job done. Now, also, Vrabel can go down there. Well, what did he do with the Titans, right? It's a whole nother conversation. Next after that's going to be Jared Mayo. Now, Jared Mayo getting fired was kind of surprising to me. Now, there's 2 ways you can look at it. Obviously, hey, the Patriots wanted the number 1 draft pick, so they wanted to lose the game. And I said this yesterday. As a coach, are you going to go and tell Milton, hey, don't perform? Go out there and don't win. What kind of conversation are we having? And I think, this kind of goes to the point of not believing in scripts for me, because if that's the case, then just completely bomb the game, take the first draft pick, and I keep my job then, right? so we get the loss and I get to keep my job. I don't think that's how it works. I think, Mayo's looking at it like this. Hey, I want to leave out on the season on a good note with a win on my record opposed to a loss. Coach the team to go out there and win. Milton did a hell of a good job. He did. I think he's the first quarterback, or I've seen in a while that's done a backflip besides maybe Cam Newton in the end zone. And maybe Lamar's done it, right? Lamar's done a backflip in the end zone. I just can't really remember when. But you get the point. Milton did a backflip in the end zone after a touchdown, and I was like, listen, this guy's athletic. He looks like he's ready to play somewhere. We obviously know that Drake May is going to be the quarterback for the Patriots, but maybe Milton could be, utilized somewhere else. Maybe he could, go over to the Jets. We know that the Jets is not the place to go. If you want to be successful, don't go over there. There's got to be a lot of changes with the Jets, that's for sure. But let me hop into the chat with you guys. Says Josh, easily MVP, all said at the start of the season that we will not make the playoffs. 100%. I agree. Craig says, look at Rich Gannon. He was dumped by KC and went on to the rival team and did well. That's what I'm saying. Like, certain quarterbacks are terrible in certain systems, and we've seen that over the years. It's nothing new. So when you take a quarterback who really hasn't had much time to develop in a specific system, and then they find a coach that's actually willing to work with them, actually coach them up to the point where they can be good, then that's when they start tapping into all the strengths that they had and actually become better. And then you start saying, well, wow, why didn't he do this there? Or why couldn't he do this for my team? And so that's what you have to understand. Certain quarterbacks like, Trevor Lawrence were thrust into this situation and really hasn't had the opportunity or the success like someone of Joe Burrow, right? Certain people thrive in certain conditions and some don't, and then some have to move on. We see it time and time again. Now, we also know that certain individuals get thrown under the bus through the whole process before things like that have to change. Head coaches, offensive coordinators. The Browns, they got rid of Ken Dorsey. First season, right? Same thing with Jared Mayo. We get rid of Jared Mayo. First season. I think now we're running into the time of teams not really having patience for people to develop. And that is shown by just throwing rookies out there and to take over a team. And so it's really unfortunate. We'll have to see what happens as far as in the offseason. This isn't the only changes and coaches that are going to get fired in this offseason. We're going to see a lot of shakeups, a lot of things changing around. We'll obviously report on that as well. But right now, it's the end of the season. Early stuff happening really doesn't, change much. We still got the playoffs and the Super Bowl to get through. We're really not going to have a lot of stuff changing until after the Super Bowl, but that's your news for right now. Shout out to you, Football Nation. Says Cowboys get the 12th overall pick. We should have just taken like the Giants and gotten a top 5, but no. Jerry has to continue to infuriate the entire Cowboys fan base. He did Cooper Rush dirty, bro. Jerry Jones. I seen a quote from him this morning. It said something like, I'm not stepping down from GM no matter who the coach is. And it let me know that he's in the mindset of, I'm going down with the ship no matter what. I don't care what happens. This is my ship. I'm going down with it. And, on one hand, it's kind of sad to hear that because it's like, Jerry, just let it go. You've got money. You're making money. It's still your team. You can let someone else handle this. But then on my right hand, it's saying, well, I kind of get it because people in his situation, that's all they have. It doesn't matter about the money, right? You got the money. You're rich. This is all you have. And we've seen it time and time again, even in the real world, right? You take someone who's been working their whole life, they put their 30, 40 years in somewhere. They then, try to retire and it doesn't work for them, right? They have to go get another job. They, go bag groceries somewhere just because they feel like they have to work and have to keep going. And so I think that's where Jerry is in his, in his old age. And unfortunately, it's just costing the Cowboys franchise, a better atmosphere and a better culture to win. It's really unfortunate because, that's the story, as they say. So, I was going to make a joke, but it wouldn't be in good taste, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to move on. Some of you may know where I was going to go with that, but I'm not going to do it. We're trying to keep it chill today. Where we at as far as likes, y'all? Make sure you hit that like, hit that thumbs up. We're currently at 21. Let's try to get to 25. We need 4 more. Make sure you guys hit that like, hit that thumbs up. I appreciate the love and support. Okay, so now we're on to the playoffs. The playoffs are set. All the wild cards are set. The seeds have been set up. Lions taking the 1 seed in the NFC. The number 2 seeds, the Eagles. Number 3 seeds, the Buccaneers. The number 4 is the Rams. Number 5 is Minnesota. Number 6 is the Commanders, and number 7 is Green Bay. On the flip side, the AFC, the Chiefs holding down the number 1 seed. The Bills, number 2. Baltimore, number 3. Texans, number 4. Chargers, number 5. Steelers, number 6. And the Broncos, number 7. Now, let's start off with the NFC. I want to start here. Last night was absolutely ridiculous. I have to say it. I am so disgusted by the Vikings. And I think Sam Darnold was unprepared. You're in this big moment. You've done such a great job this season. Why would you do this to your team? Why would you have this kind of performance? Your defense played lights out. Your defense did exactly what they were supposed to do. They held them as much as they could and allowed you to put up points, and you were not able to execute in the red zone at all? Wow. I had to say that because it was really bothering me. Really bothering me. But as far as the Vikings, they'll play the Rams, start off in the first round. That's going to be an interesting one, right? Because I still feel that Matthew Stafford has a lot to prove. He's got some great weapons in Kupp and Nakoa. The run game with Williams is working. Their defense has been okay for the most part. I mean, from what I seen last night, I think they got a solid chance against the Vikings. I think Sam Darnold needed to prove to us that if he was going to be a champion, you had to beat this Lions team. And he had multiple opportunities to do it and just couldn't execute. So I think the Rams may give, these Vikings a run for their money. And I don't want to do it to you Vikings fans, but I didn't like what I seen yesterday. And I'm going to have to take the Rams over the Vikings. So after that, obviously they'll move on to the Lions. But before that, you obviously get the Commanders and the Buccaneers. I like both teams. This is actually going to be probably one of the best games that we see in the first round. Commanders, Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, both have been having an excellent career. Baker has redeemed himself in such a way for this team that we now look at him as, well, maybe you should have never started your career with the Browns because you've shown that you can be great with this specific system. Now, maybe he needed that growth with the Browns to get to this point, but I think that he could have been good if he would have had this kind of setup from the start, and it would have been way more successful. But that's neither here nor there. He's got it now, and he's been great. Mike Evans doing what he does. Irving, those guys are wonderful. The defense doing pretty good for the most part. And then on the flip side, you got the Commanders. They've got a solid squad. Jaden Daniels is leading this team to believe in themselves. They got great chemistry. Their defense, okay for the most part as well. This one for me is a 50-50. It's right down the middle because I don't think you're wrong with either choice. But I do think as far as the Commanders, you do have a little bit more talent offensively. So I'm going to give the Commanders this one by a slight margin. It's very small. I think it's going to be a close one there, maybe even by a field goal, but I'll give it to the Commanders. After that, it's going to be Green Bay and the Eagles, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Green Bay and the Eagles. This one, I look at Green Bay Packers run defense, right? They're number 7. They average 100 yards allowed. And I think that's going to be what's, the big make or break part as far as for the Packers coming into this game. Now, Jalen Hurts has been playing his game. He did obviously have, some off moments, but they've been relying on Barkley so much. He hasn't really had to do a lot to get wins. And so when you look at, all right, if you take away Saquon, then Jalen's going to step up and he's going to make sure that they score. There's a lot of talent over there. Their defense is working. I have to give the slight advantage here to the Eagles. I think they'll move on. And obviously we'll then get to the second round in divisionals and all that stuff as we move on. But that's going to be my first round predictions for the NFC as far as those matchups go. Now moving over to the AFC, Chargers and Houston. The Texans for me really have not been playing at their full potential. And I think CJ Stroud is in his slump, right? It happens. There's nothing wrong with it happening. But the problem is coming into this season and coming into these playoffs, you lost Tank Dell. That was a huge loss. So the chemistry's kind of, going to change and shift. And the Chargers are playing, lights out football. I think at this point, Justin Herbert has a lot to prove. He's kind of been overlooked. And I do think that he's overrated. I think now he has a solid opportunity to come into this playoffs with a whole different mindset, refreshed, ready to go. You got a new coach. I think Harbaugh is definitely looking to make a name for himself in this playoff as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Chargers in this one over the Texans, leading into KC. Shout out to you, Angela. I appreciate you showing the love. Next after that is going to be Pittsburgh and the Ravens. Now, Russell Wilson. That's the conversation that we're having in this one. We already know what the Ravens can do and will do and most likely will do. But the conversation is, what kind of Russell Wilson are we getting in this game? Are we getting the Russell Wilson that's learned from his mistakes? Or are we getting the Russell Wilson that's just going to try and toss up the ball, go out there to, not lose instead of trying to win? If you get that Russell Wilson, just give it to the Ravens. It's already in the bag. If you get the Russell Wilson that hones in his playoff experience, actually lets the game come to him, and if George Pickens, I got to say it, y'all, if George Pickens can get his shit together, then maybe Russell Wilson can have a decent game and make it a game and it just not be an onslaught for the Ravens. Now, I will say this. The Steelers' defense is strong, so they do have that in their favor. But once again, it's the same kind of situation that the Vikings have. They can hold you for so long. Can your offense put up enough points to match what the Ravens are going to do? That's going to be the determining factor as far as what the Steelers can bring to the table and not. So I think it's going to be the Ravens, but who knows what will happen. Maybe Russell can get it together. I'm not sure about that. I don't think he will, but I'm going to go with the Ravens on that one. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Broncos and the Bills. Broncos and the Bills. So this one is funny to me, and it's funny for a couple of reasons. The Broncos actually beat the Bills last year in the regular season with Russell Wilson. Now you've got Bo Nix. There's been a lot of changes since that obviously happened, but Sean Payton's in now. Playoff experience, Super Bowl experience. You've got a quarterback with an arm. You've got a mobile quarterback. Bo Nix is very good. I have no problem saying that. Obviously, he's a rookie. There's things that he needs to tweak and make better, but he's really good. And with this problem with the Bills defense, you start to look at this game a little bit differently than we normally would as far as from a point of, it's just the Broncos. No, this Bills defense is going to be exposed for some of these throws, and we know that Bo Nix likes to move that ball down the field with ease. So I definitely can, see a shootout here. Both, down the field, Allen, Bo, both are gunslingers without a doubt. But the Bills are at home. It's hard to beat the Bills at home in the playoffs. And so you're going to have that 12th man factor out there. Bo Nix may not be used to that. Allen's going to do Allen things. He's going to have to run up the score. My big thing moving forward, you won't have to ask me, well, Jay, what does he have to do? He's got to put up 40 in the playoffs. 40 a game. Yes, I'm going up 5 points. Allen is going to have to lead this offense to put up 40 points every game in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. That's where I'm at. If Allen in this offense can put up 40 points, then guess what? They take the win against the Broncos, and that's where I'm at. That's what I think is going to happen for the first round. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to you guys. Let me hop in the chat. Shout out to Mark. Says clearly it was his bad mustache that cost him the game. Not the Sam Darnold mustache. That's crazy, yo. Oh man. Craig says going to be a great game or a wash. Either way, it'll be entertaining for sure, without a doubt. Mark Griffin, good morning, bro. Good morning, without a doubt. I'm excited. It's been great. Knicks is this year's Purdy. That's a take. I like it though. I like it. I think I agree. This year, Bo Nix would be Purdy. Yeah. He looks solid. The IQ is there. He doesn't make many mistakes. And so we're seeing I want to say a Purdy with a better arm, right? A stronger arm. Cowboy style, a little bit like Josh Allen, right? We're getting kind of like a baby Josh Allen versus Josh Allen in a sense. No disrespect to Bo Nix, but you get what I'm saying. They're kind of like the same quarterback, just in two different dimensions in a sense. But it's going to be a good one. I'm excited for it. We're going to be streaming all the playoff games, so we're going to get all the 2 cents about it. So it's going to be great. But yeah, that's going to be the playoff predictions for the first round until we get to the next, and we'll do predictions for that as well. Before we get to our last story, let me go ahead and hop in this chat with you guys. It says Denver is on a high after that win yesterday. Oh my goodness. Yeah, before we get to this next story, y'all, Bo Nix or the Broncos is on a whole different world. Do not get into a confrontation with Broncos fans right now. They are on a whole different planet. Just let them be on it. This is their moment right now. Listen, if they don't get past the first round, they've won themselves a Super Bowl. If they do, more power to them because they deserved it. Shout out to you guys. Dexy says, so what are you saying are for the Bills to make the Super Bowl, they need to score 120 plus points in the playoffs? Yes. That is exactly what I'm saying. Because it's going to take every bit of your offense to solve the issues at defense. You don't want to have to rely on your defense in these playoffs. Shout out to Tyrone, says that's the problem. Josh has to put up 40 points. Says a lot about the D. We know that. There's no conversation in which we don't know that Josh Allen has to be amazing in the playoffs. We know that he can't rely on the defense. So that's why I'm saying him and this offense has to put up 40 points. If you want guaranteed progress and success, 40 points. You want things to be shaky and you got to sit there and worry and bite your fingernails, go ahead and put up 30. Because I tell you this right now, you don't want to be in a situation where you have to rely on Tyler Bass. Tell me I'm wrong. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. You don't want to be in the playoffs where you have to rely on Tyler Bass. I'll say it one more time for the people in the back. You don't want to be in the playoffs and have to rely on Tyler Bass for a win. So guess what? You need to make sure you have enough points in the game that you have enough cushion to get a victory, and you have the ball in your hand at the end of the game. So there you go. Shout out to Jesse. Says, much love as Broncos fan. It's an honor to play the Bills. Shout out to you, Jesse. Without a doubt. So yeah, our next story, ladies and gentlemen, this one's kind of crazy. Like I said, we're going to do some sports. We're going to get into some other stuff. We're still on sports, but this one's crazy. So bombshell news. There's currently a lawsuit going on that involves Joy Taylor and Fox Sports. This is wild. So Shannon Sharp breaks silence on Skip Bayless and Joy Taylor lawsuit. If you're not familiar, there's some issues going on as far as relationships and all kinds of stuff and Fox Sports, and it's this bombshell thing that's came out over the past few days. And so here we go. Shannon Sharpe has weighed in on a lawsuit filed by former Fox Sports hairstylist who alleges misconduct and harassment by high-profile figures at the network. The claim involves Sharpe's former co-host Skip Bayless, Joy Taylor, and executive Charlie Dixon. Nashan Faraji, a former Fox Sports employee with over a decade of service, accused Bayless of inappropriate behavior. The allegations include unwelcome physical contact, advances, and alleged offer of $1.5 million in exchange for what you see there on the screen. Listen, there is always something ridiculous going on. Always. Well, we'll keep it going. Per Front Office Sports, Dixon, Bayless, and Taylor were named among the defendants in the lawsuit. The only notable mention of Sharpe is the alleged accusations by Bayless claiming that Faraji had slept with him. Sharpe discussed the situation during Sunday's edition of his nightcap show. Now, here's what's wild, right? These guys are supposed to be professionals. These guys are supposed to be the individuals who provide us with high-level sports entertainment, high-level analysts, and all this other stuff. And so now you have a lawsuit that these alleged things happen. I have to make sure I say allegedly. These things happen, and now we're supposed to believe in the integrity of the conversation that they have and, the relationships that they have. This is why a lot of people don't really like following these kind of individuals for these specific topics because of all the side stuff and all the issues and all the connections and, who got this job and who got that job. This is a big problem for this kind of stuff to get aired out because it plays into, credibility. It plays into the personality of these individuals. And who wants to hear about it? All the memes, all the jokes. I know we're going to have all the jokes coming up after this one. It goes on to keep saying that has nothing to do with me. There's nothing to address in those 42 pages. It doesn't mention that Shannon Sharpe did anything, Sharpe said, but you all want to get clicks, so you mention me. Sharpe starred along Bayless and Undisputed for 7 years. Some bad blood led to Sharpe's departure in 2023. The Hall of Fame tight end cited a particular disrespectful instance as a catalyst for his decision. I mean, you can kind of say that was the issue. But when stuff like this comes out, it's almost like, yeah, why did you really leave? Did you know about some other stuff that was going on and then this added to it? We know that Sharpe was definitely visibly upset in some of the situations leading to the end of him leaving Skip Bayless. But like I said, this goes back into, all right, we're starting to see other stuff come out. It's like maybe you decided to dip out because of this other situation. I understand. You want to move out of the way before something really pops off. But, the story as far as, Acho, he came out with a video yesterday trying to, create a narrative behind, how nothing was going on. And so, these guys, they have their PR people come out. They try to save face in kind of situations. But when there's smoke, there's fire. We know that. We'll obviously keep you guys updated as far as this story as we keep it going. It says, you can say I'm loud. You can say I'm obnoxious. You can say I'm arrogant. But try to poo-poo my career, a 7th rounder that started off on special teams and played so well that I got into the Hall of Fame. To try and minimize that was disheartening to me, Sharpe said on the Stephen A. Smith show. I mean, Sharpe, it's not really about you, right? The situation may have you in it because you have some ties to the associates, and who knows? Maybe you were involved. We don't know. We just know what the lawsuit says and all the paperwork. Paperwork's out there. This story is crazy. Let me know what you feel in the comments about it. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Tyrone says, nasty work. Jonas says, I'm sure Fox has a headache for this now. Without a doubt. If you're around, you're down. I agree. Jonas says, fire. Jay, more like a hurricane. You see strong winds, and out comes the hurricane. Without a doubt. Because listen, when this kind of stuff happens, it leads to more stuff coming out. This isn't just the beginning of it, right? More people start talking. Oh, well, they brought this out. Okay, well, then I'll bring what I got to say out too. I got a story now too. It turns into a snowball effect. So like I said, when there's smoke, there's fire. And, we'll continue on with this story as more comes out. But there you go. Joy Taylor, Shannon Sharp, all these guys named in this lawsuit by, in regards to a hairstylist for Fox Sports. Ridiculous. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Morning show for the day. I got some work to get into, but I appreciate you guys. It was a great start tomorrow morning. We'll be back at it 10 a.m. and we'll keep it going. Craig says, I feel like with Fox started with Tucker and train has been off of the rails since. Yeah, without a doubt. Fox hasn't been the same, and things are really shifting. ESPN, let go a lot of people, and the whole sports commentating and analyst thing on traditional cable is pretty much coming to an end because everything's migrating. People have their own shows, people have their own podcasts and everything. So, you look at Pat McCaffrey, and I think that's kind of going to be the, where everything's going to start shifting to in the next 10 to 15 years for sure. Shout out to you, Greg. Without a doubt. Last question. Jonas says, Jay, do you think the Broncos can really hang with the Bills? I think in the beginning of the game, it's going to be one of those situations where it's a little back and forth, and then the Bills will find a way to create some space. That's what I think, right? It's the playoffs. Sean Payton's got some tricks. You never know. There's not much tape on Bo Nix in the playoffs. But shout out to you guys. Make sure you hit that like, hit that thumbs up, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Click that bell, turn on your notifications so you don't miss a stream. I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. sharp as we keep it going. Good morning, y'all. Have a great day.